Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. This is our 25th episode. And before we get into it, I'm Colin,
I'm Daniel.
and we're missing that other guy, but no one cares about him. Today we're going to be talking about some Gamera movies. Gamera, in case anyone doesn't know, he came out 11 years after Godzilla and was always second fiddle to Godzilla. He was never as popular both like box office wise and even culturally. I feel like everyone knows Godzilla. Not too many people know of Gamera, I would say. Would you concur?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know we both grew up as huge Godzilla fans, and like I always knew about Gamer, but I never watched his movies. But I always knew about him. But I always had that general idea too. He was always second to Godzilla.
Yes, I remember we had all your your VHS collection of Godzilla movies. You had Gamera Guardian of the Universe on VHS. I remember I would sometimes look at the box cover, and I thought it was cool looking. I never watched it
Yeah,
though.
yeah. I thought his design. Yeah, I always did like that cover. Because it was like him in the back, and he
With
kind
the
of had like a.
flames.
Yeah, it was a cool cover. The only prior to watching the ones we're going to discuss, the only one I had watched that included Gamera was Gamera versus Baragon. I know that was like in the
Barugon, I
'60s.
think.
Yeah, Baragon. Yeah, it was like in the '60s. It was one of his first editions, but I watched that. I probably want to say like over a decade ago. It was part of like a collection, like DVDs I
Oh my
got. It was
god.
like yeah, it was like that with like War of the Gargantuans, like the original Rodan, like part of those collections.
I don't think those would be in a collection together because
I I
Gamera's
I,
not Toho.
I forget what it was with. It
It's
was it
probably with another Gamera movie, but
was it is War of the Gargantuans? That's Toho, right?
yeah, it's Toho.
I think it was with that collect. It was like one of those weird like classic monster collection ones
Yeah,
I
you
got
might
when
be
I was
right.
younger.
Yeah, you might be right. So, for the most part, up until 1995, Gamera was always seen as the schlockier, lesser, more terrible contemporary to Godzilla. And the first Gamera movie I actually saw was in 2017, and it was a Gamera Guardian of the Universe. And I remember I really liked it. So let's talk about the first movie of the Heisei Gamera series, Gamera Guardian of the Universe. I, for one, I really liked this movie. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, I finished watching it literally the other day, but I was very surprised how much I enjoyed it. It was just especially for like a monster, a kaiju movie. It's very well like put together. Um, it's actually pretty fast paced, but I overall very much enjoyed it. I was surprised.
I think one of the biggest hurdles the movie had to overcome was always, or this is the same thing with every first installment of a new series for monster movies, is establishing who the monsters are and what their dynamic is to each other and how they're relative. This movie overcomes that hurdle pretty well. They establish who Gamera is, what he is, what the Gaios, what they are, and
Yeah.
why they pose a threat. And it does it all so quickly, and but it's not like a J.J. Abrams quick where they gloss over everything. They're like, "Oh no, we can't think. We got to keep going, keep it going." The movie immediately sets the plot in motion with the Gaios doing their evil things and eating people. And it starts off as a mystery until then they come into contact with the atoll, which they don't know is Gamera.
Yeah, no, I was surprised like how quickly they kind of just got right into it. But it like you're saying, it's like a mystery of like you're like the guys like they establish what they are, but you're not sure like why they're doing what they're doing. But I thought I also I like their design. I thought they were pretty cool. But it was definitely a nice quick introduction to their to the movie. Like it set the tone, and it was like fast paced. Even the editing was very like I was almost like caught off guard with like how it sometimes didn't really have transitions to scenes. It just kept moving along, which I liked, especially more in kaiju movies. Like they don't take too long to get into.
Yeah, and the characters also they're pretty good. Asagi, the daughter of the guy whose name is slipping. I like how they actually make someone connected to Gamera.
Yes.
Cause
Yeah,
yeah, you
I
go.
was gonna say I did this definitely. I don't want to compare them to the Godzilla movies, but also like I was gonna say another hurdle that Gamera had when it like the especially when this one came out is it came out this one came out after Godzilla vs Destroyer, right?
I believe so. They were the same year.
But it followed right after Godzilla's Heisei series, which was very successful.
Oh, it actually came
Um,
out before uh, Godzilla vs. Destroyer.
but it still was around the Heisei Godzilla, so that series was very successful. But yeah, I liked um, the humans actually felt very relevant to the story. That they actually had a huge part in it, and I liked how um, they established like no, they're literally the human connection is important to Gamera, so it does very much drive their importance in his story.
Yeah, and I think also the Gaios were pretty like they're a formidable opponent to Gamera. I didn't know what or who a Gaios was prior to this movie, and obviously after seeing it, you know that I think he's the third monster or the second monster Gamera fights in the original series in the Showa.
Yeah,
And the suit, I just saw a still. The suit looks terrible. All the monsters Gamera fought in the Showa eras, everything looks so terrible. But
yeah,
here, the suits especially, they look great. It really shows you how much time and care they put into it, into these movies, into the costumes and the design. Because I would say, I don't know if you would agree, but I think this trilogy of Gamera movies are better directed than the Heisei Godzilla movies. They're a lot, they're a lot better directed, I would say.
yeah, yeah. Like if I probably watched these when I was younger, and my bias towards Godzilla was clearly at its prime, I would probably argue against it. But like now watching them later, I would agree. Especially I think the humans, um, the human characters in these are much stronger. I feel like.
Yes, and I would say also uh, the directing and how they scale Gamera. The set design is very lavish. It's
Yeah,
very appealing. It looks realistic enough, and they always have the camera pointed kind of low and up at Gamera. The Godzilla movies in the '90s didn't do this, and they're all shot with static, wide shots of Godzilla and his monsters.
yeah,
Here, they're much more close up, but at a human vantage point, which makes Gamera look, huge and powerful.
yeah. And also, too, another thing I think Gamera definitely has the edge over, um, especially when you're trying to pull together a whole story with different characters and plots, is they already established Gamera has he's empathetic to the humans, where Godzilla is completely indifferent to them. He just he just sees another monster and he's going to fight it regardless. Where Gamera has a purpose, he's actually protecting the people. He was designed that way, so it definitely boosts the story, the connection to the characters, and everything. Where you actually, I mean, obviously root for Godzilla, but the story you definitely can. I found myself like very much like surprisingly rooting as much as I rooted for Gamera as I did, but because I felt that connection with him and the humans. But um to the point you were saying, like the shot, the specifically the one shot where like the scaling and they're looking up, like where he like he looks in on the baseball stadium,
Oh yeah, yeah.
like you see from the ground up, like that was a pretty cool shot. I thought his design was pretty cool too. They made him a little more mean looking as opposed to if you look at the originals, it's kind of like goofier. But I thought his design, the set designs were very cool. Like you're saying, the scaling was done very well, um, especially for like the time that it was. In the '90s, CGI was kind of getting there, so they, you had to definitely be more creative with like the scaling on it.
Yes, there are some rough VFX shots, but you give it a pass because this is
Yeah.
1995, and they had a lower budget than the Godzilla movies at the time too. And I wanted to bring
Yes.
up a point too, where you're talking about how you can get behind Gamera. I 100% agree because he goes out of his way to save people. So as you were saying, it's easier to root for Gamera instead of Godzilla, who just destroys anything in his path and murders hundreds of innocent JSDF people. Gamera actually protects people and he cares about them. There's that one scene where he shows up just in the nick of time to stop the Gaios from shooting their. It was like an ultrasonic beam. He puts his hand over the people on the bridge to protect them, and then Gamera gets hurt.
Yeah.
That's the
And
kind of
also,
stuff you want
yeah.
your monster. You want to be able to root for them, and obviously, as you were saying for Godzilla, you always root for him because he's Godzilla,
Yeah.
But like when you really think about Godzilla, and he's a jerk. He's terrible. He kills innocent people. Gamera's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And for this style of the Gamera movies in the '90s, it works.
Yeah. Especially, I was gonna say, like, I guess in the '90s they tried to make Godzilla a little more like, you could relate to him, like where they give him a son and stuff in the Heisei. But I don't know. At times, like when they would, especially Minya. Oh God, I know that wasn't
That
Heisei, but like
creature.
it almost was like you're like, why are you giving Godzilla this son, or why are you trying to make him like a father figure? Like you almost expected Godzilla to just be this brutal force of nature, or Gamera, like it fit him that he was the guardian. And also too, like for some odd, I really thought his roar, like it almost like made you feel bad for, like there was like emotion behind it, like when he roared and stuff. I don't know if that was like intentional or if they just kept it, but I don't know. His roar almost like felt like there was like emotion behind him. I might just be reading into it too much, but
You might be because I remember you said to me before. I think before I told you to watch these movies, you always thought his roar was annoying. But after
yes,
watching this trilogy, it kind of
yes,
grew on me. His
it did.
roar.
It did, and I'm glad I was proven wrong because his roar definitely fits his character. Like there's like emotion behind it almost. Like
I would,
Godzilla's is
yeah.
just awesome and like it's iconic, but his is just awesome and like he's just a force of nature. But like Gamera's, it's kind of like there's like emotion behind it. It
Yeah,
fits his character.
I would say like it's an innocence, but I know what you're trying to
Yes.
say. Where it's definitely more sympathetic. His roar. It's not
Yeah.
this intimidating bellow that Godzilla has.
Yeah, like when he puts his hand out and like protects the people and he gets hit and he gets hurt, like his roar fits that. Like you could almost like hear the pain in it, like he's protecting them but he's hurt. And also I did like the um like it drove home that connection that like when he got hurt, the girl who was holding his amulet, like she got hurt too. Like it drove that connection through between them and like she could read his like thoughts. Like she knew what he was feeling and stuff, or like when he would show up.
Yes. And I think also for our limited listeners, they definitely haven't seen this movie. I'm going to assume. So I guess we should give a brief synopsis. Where in this movie, in the first one, Guardian of the Universe, a bunch of people and villages are being like ravaged by they don't know what. So there's this expedition team that goes out. They try to find something. They don't know what is doing this until they find some kind of dropping, and then they see that prior scientists were there and they were eaten. And then they discover the Gauss. And as we said, the Gauss are these big red bird creatures that can eat people. And that's all they like to do. They just like to eat people. And then while that's happening, this giant atoll that they think is a giant atoll in the ocean turns out to be Gamera. He shows up, and long story short, he is designed. He is genetically designed to wipe out the Gaios because the Gaios were created by the Atlanteans, but that didn't work out. So they created Gamera to kill the Gaios. And I had no idea prior to watching this what Gamera's origins were. I'm very confident in saying that I don't think this was his origins in the Showa era. So I'm glad they changed it a little bit, at least to this,
Yes.
because I
I
don't know what it was beforehand. But I like this. The
Yeah.
Atlanteans designed him.
Yeah, I did like I didn't go like I didn't look too much into his past movies. I more of just did like a general like overview on his character. I know he was always meant to be more of a sympathetic character, almost like a Frankenstein's monster. I think in the original, I don't want to get I don't like know too much about it, but I know he was more designed that way, and then he was more of designed to be like a protector in his like quickly after the original. So I know he was more designed to be like an actual protector of people, but I'm not
Another,
sure like
yeah,
on his full origin. But I know the way his character was set up, he was more meant to be a protector than just a force of nature or a villain in his origin.
I think they call him like at least in the show era, they call him like the friend of children, something like that, where all the kids would like Gamera, and he would save children. Don't know if there's any sinister implications behind that, but
I mean, it
so
wasn't a Hollywood movie, so
this is very true. Overall, I would recommend Gamera Guardian of the Universe. And
yes,
what is funny is that the late Roger Ebert actually reviewed this movie and he gave it a 3 out of 4 stars, which
yeah,
is insane to me. You think someone like him, some kind of more serious reviewer, more of an acclaimed reviewer, he would pan the movie, but he actually said it was dumb fun. He liked those kind of stuff. I thought that was interesting.
yeah,
So the second movie that came out that immediately followed Guardian of the Universe was called Gamera 2: Attack of Legion. And as we were saying outside this podcast, that each Gamera movie builds on the last one and is better. Each movie in the trilogy gets better and better. And
yes,
I thought this movie was obviously better than Guardians of the Universe, and is also pretty good in itself too. It really stretches what you can do with Suitmation and Legion. They do such a such a great job with Legion, which is this giant insectoid alien.
yeah. I was surprised. Like, I was very like shocked how well they pulled off the costume, especially in the final design. Like he looked pretty cool in how he moved and everything. Like I was very shocked like how they were able to pull that off.
Now you just misgendered Legion. It's called Mother Legion.
Sorry.
Yeah, you should be. I think also we talked about cinematography with Guardians of the Universe. Do you remember that one shot where it showed that lieutenant guy when Gamera's in Sendai, that city before it blows up? He's in his car and it's this. He's looking up through his car window, and it's this shot that is slowly like panning up and watching Gamera go by. If you've seen, do you remember that shot? It's very hard to describe, but the guy's in the car, and we see what he's looking out the window of the car, and it just shows Gamera. But the thing is, it looks so convincing that Gamera's a giant monster that you forget it's all miniature. I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know if you remember the shot I'm talking about. I think it's like halfway through the movie. He looks out his window. I don't know. I just thought that was a
I,
great shot because it was all practical and it
yeah.
wasn't digitally inserted anywhere.
I actually I kind of liked um I don't know if you which villain or which monster you liked more, but I kind of liked Legion a bit better than Gaius. It was a I guess overall, like the threat they posed, like it wasn't just against Gamera, but they were a colonizing race of aliens, and how they went about it was I thought it was interesting how they set them up.
Yeah, I mean, I had to watch this movie twice because there's some uh, details that I kind of missed the first time.
Yeah, that is the one thing with the Gamera movies is you have to be very close. You have to pay very close attention to the dialogue and and the things because the like I was saying, it's very fast paced and the editing in the first two especially doesn't necessarily give clear transitions. Like it'll just be like boom, next scene and people are just talking. So you have to pay very close attention. because a lot of the which I appreciate in these movies is they don't give a lot of like just straight scenes of exposition. It kind of like it's quick dial. It's like it's exchange. It's actually mutual. What was the term used for when we're talking about Indiana Jones? That one scene like where it's like the exposition. The characters are they're giving each other information in between. Um,
Oh, like the way like bounced off each other.
yes, yes. So like the characters are doing that with each other, and it's I like that. It gives it actually makes them feel like characters, and it's a good way of directing. But it's very quick, so you do have to pay attention with it. Like you're saying, like you have to go back and almost. I had to go back a few scenes. Like, wait, did they? What did they say here? But speaking of the transitions, which I laughed at this scene because I just just the way they ended it. So do you remember in the beginning, like when they're the girl and the one and like the one science guy, they're driving through the snow and their car just stops. Like there was like an
Yes.
electromagnetic pulse, and they go out and the two army guys come out and meet them. And then the one guy like goes to light his lighter, and the thing like goes up like a flamethrower, and the guy just stares at it so confused. They freeze frame it, and then they just cut to the next scene. I just the guy's face just caught me off guard, but like I don't know, I thought that was funny, but yeah, they don't have like those clear transitions. Which I don't mind, but it is very fast paced. I didn't mean to go on a tangent
No,
like
you're
that,
fine. I think one of the details I missed was the first time was how the legions would could suck up silicone. It was something like that
yes,
where they could
it
make
it
stuff
was
dissipate like beer
yeah
can.
yeah it was they were so they were attracted to they were consuming um it was the fiber optics that they were after. That's why they were after the glass.
Yeah.
But their
And
body
they're
would
also after like magnetic sources, which is why there's this terrifying train sequence where these small legions just attack a bunch of people on train, and it's pretty violent. These Gamera movies are pretty violent, at least the first three,
yes.
and they're very bloody, which caught me off guard. Because remember that one scene where the train conductor just gets like splattered in blood? He just
Yeah, and then
his arm up against the glass.
and yeah, the people are like, "Oh God!" And then like the rest of the Legion just start killing them. I was very shocked by the violence in it, but
Yes.
yeah, the Legion they were attracted to the electromagnetic because they were trying to cut off the communication for the humans, but they were eating the fiber optics, I think, for their nest, right?
Yeah, it was something like that.
They didn't have. I thought this was very interesting. They didn't have any muscles or anything. Their entire bodies were run on like pressurized air.
Yeah, I remember hearing that too, and that was kind
Yeah,
of bizarre.
yeah, because the one scientist cut open the one like corpse, and it just was a bunch of oxygen just getting shot out at him. Like they were,
It was like a dangerous amount of oxygen too.
I think it was like 78%. It was almost like four times the normal amount. But yeah, like the Legion, I thought it was interesting is they would build this nest, and then it would turn to like this flower, and then the flower would shoot out this like pod, and it would send it into space. The goal was to send it into space to go to the next planet, and then they could start colonizing there too. I thought that was just very interesting. Like they're not like
Yeah,
humanoid or anything. They're just a bunch of insects. So,
and
but
the third movie will expand on why Legion was kind of there, but I think like Legion is pretty brutal, in this movie in these movies, Gamera gets beaten up pretty badly. Like he gets stabbed multiple times.
yeah,
He's always bleeding profusely. I didn't know Gamera's blood is green. Sure, why
yeah.
not? Sure.
Or like, yeah, what was it like when he destroys the first pod? Um, and then the entire swarm just jumped on him, and he had to like fly away like a drunk driver.
He, can we talk about how Gamma flies? So
Yes.
I did not know how he would fly. I knew Gamma could fly, and literally his arms and legs would retract into his shell, and jet turbine like force would expel out of it. It is the most bizarre thing ever.
Yeah.
but But it's like, when you're watching, you just think, okay, whatever. Like, sure, Gamera can fly, and he's jet propelled, and then he can spin too when he flies. That's how he mostly flies. His shell is
Yeah,
just constantly spinning.
yeah. I think the flying really paid off in the third one, but we'll get to that.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
but yeah, I kind of at first I was just like, yeah, I was like you, I was just like, okay, sure, like, but I don't know, like the more Gamma grew on me, the more I just enjoyed it. Like I thought it was cool that, well, sure, why not a flying turtle? But
Who
it
could
kind
shoot
of
like plasma out of his mouth.
yeah, it's like yeah, like fireballs like just coming out. So like I don't know, I thought that was pretty like, cool once once he grew on me. But yeah, he just like yeah, he just jet propulsions and then turns into a flying saucer and just like Mach speed gets out of there. Because
And
yeah,
yeah,
like
you go. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, because like when the Legion jumped on him, he goes into the turbo mode and they just start spinning uncontrollably. You see them like flying off of him,
And
like
then his own blood splatters all a bunch against a bunch of skyscraper windows.
yeah,
I think a great scene in this movie also was where they're at the helipad or the big airport, and Gamera shows up in time to hold off Legion as Asagi is on the helicopters and they're trying to evacuate. And Gamera is literally looking back to make sure they escape as
yes.
he's holding off Legion. I think again that's such a nice touch on Gamera as a character because he's not a force of nature really. He's a hero pretty much. He does care about human life in the first two movies especially. You know what he's doing and you can get behind what he's doing and you root for him.
One of my favorite, I did like that scene, like that little attention to detail about him. Like yeah, like it shows him looking back to make sure they're getting out. Like there is definitely that emotion, but I also I really like the when the Legion built up the second pod, and the first time he fights Mother Legion, and he kind of gets beaten up, and he's like, and like Mother Legion, I forget, gets distracted by something. Oh, because I think they shut down when the pod's about to shoot
Yeah,
for
Mother
some reason.
Legion like skedaddled out of there.
Yeah, and like the entire like swarm just like stops working when when the thing's about to shoot. And then so he gets beaten up, and then you see him literally crawling to get to the pod, and as he's falling over in a last ditch effort, as the thing's about to launch, like knocks it over, and the thing blows him up. Like I just thought that was such a cool like it makes you really want to root for him. Like he's crawling to get there just to like such a last ditch effort to get it
Yeah, stop
over.
the pod and take the brunt of the force.
Yeah,
And I think also that's cool with these movies is there are consequences to what Gamera does and what the monsters do, but not consequences in the sense of like Zack Snyder and his Superman movies where it's just unneedless violence and destruction.
yeah,
Like it built like this movie especially in the third one builds on this and the consequences of Sendai, which is the city where the pod goes off and it almost kills Gamera. It's
yeah,
like those nice touches that kind of don't make it necessarily realistic, but it gives you something to care about. Where there's
yeah.
this destruction, but it's not unnecessary or excessive amounts of destruction. It's not like a Zack Snyder movie.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
I think what's cool in this movie also is that we'll touch upon this in the third movie, but it's like the faith in Gamera and that kind of energy is kind of what brings him back. It's that he has to, in order to revive himself, he has to shatter his human connection, and that's how he gets all that huge intake of power and revives himself. I thought that was like a cool scene too, because
yeah, and the
he was
people.
like frozen. He's like comatose.
Yeah, he was like in some like molten coma. He literally had to shed the. Yeah, it was a nice touch. And you see like all the like kids and stuff are like around him, like basically like like praying for him and everything, and like they're pulling for him. And I thought like it's kind of one of those things because like it put like how they designed Gamera, it puts the military in that conflict. Because they're constantly like, oh, who are we trying to help? And they're like, shoot, if Gamera comes around, like he's a monster, but the thing is, but you also equally see the side of like, I guess comparing it to Godzilla, there wasn't like a there isn't that human factor. Like no, it's almost like he's the last resort of like, all right, just let him slug it out. But Gamera, it's like, no, we actually really do need him. Like the humans really like, no, 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 like let him fight. Like he is completely with us. Like Godzilla, it's more of like ambiguous. Like he's that force of nature. But I did really enjoy that scene of like how he had to like summon the well they later called it mana, but he had to like basically summon like I thought it was like solar energy at first.
He's a big satellite dish or a big
A solar panel.
yeah.
But
I think
yeah, I
another
really
cool scene. Oh, sorry. You know what? You go. You go.
no, I was gonna say I really did like that scene.
I think another cool scene is when Gamera is gonna fight Legion for the last time, and he flies in, and he's has little engines coming out of his where his legs are, and as he's flying, he like puts his legs back out, and then he lands and he starts
Yes,
sliding, and then he
yes,
starts like shooting his plasma beam at Legion.
yes. That was one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Like how he. That's why I like that. That's why I like with him flying. At first it's pretty schlocky, like how he flies. But it adds that element of like it can add that creativity to his fight scenes, which I liked. That like allows him for that cool entrance or um t- I really want to touch on that in the third one, but
Yes,
because
well, we'll get to that.
that's one of my favorite scenes in the entire um series, and I think you know which one I'm referring to. But I really did like that scene, how he landed and everything. And I also thought Legion was pretty cool, like how it had like that.
Well, we'll get to
Um,
Legion in a sec. Oh no, no, I thought you were talking about. You know what? My bad. I thought you were talking about Iris. My bad.
yeah, no. I was talking about Legion. Like when he comes in, like in that scene, he's shooting, and Legion like had those two big tentacles that were like had like an electromagnetic like pulse to diffuse it.
Yeah.
I,
Okay.
I also
Yeah.
I also did like it was satisfying, like because like you're rooting for Gamera and like he's shooting the fireballs and nothing's really working, and then he finally gets in close and rips the tentacles off. I really it was like satisfying to see him just grab it and then rip it off. Like it was
Yeah.
brutal but cool.
It definitely feels more personal, because when you're watching Legion, you're like, this thing is such a literal annoying parasite, and he finally rips off those two things by its head, and then Legion's kind of powerless at that point.
Yeah,
And
which
real quick, what's also really cool how he kills Legion. He uses all that power he just took in, and his chest literally opens up. He
it's like an
shoots a
art.
beam. It's like Iron Man's unibeam, and he just blows up Legion.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think, lastly, too, I have 2 points I could end on. But one of my points is that with these movies, and especially this one, I like how the human characters are directly involved with the monsters. A lot of Godzilla movies and a lot of monster movies in general don't do that. They don't have the humans interacting with the monsters directly. Usually they're doing something completely unrelated. This movie does this, and I guess I'll go to my other point. I don't know if you noticed, Daniel, but Godzilla King of the Monsters is very similar to this movie.
I was gonna actually bring that up when I was watching this. I was like, did they were they inspired a lot by this movie? I was thinking that the whole time I was watching that movie.
Yes, because humanity apprehensively joins forces with Gamera because Legion is such a bigger threat, and Legion also wants to terraform the Earth, just like how Ghidorah does. They have like a whole army at their disposal too. And then, of course, one of the biggest similarities is that Gamera and Godzilla are quote unquote killed before the final fight and
And
have
they're
to be
re-energized. Yeah,
revived.
yeah,
And also, both movies end with kind of an uneasy alliance with humanity and the monsters. Because in Gamera 2, they say something like, Gamera isn't the guardian of humans, he's the guardian of the universe. If
yeah,
humans do something that puts him out of favor with Gamera, he will come after them.
yeah. And then like I know was that and King of the Monsters like
They just said, like, for
like
now, like,
yeah,
he's not good thing he's on our side.
yeah for now. For
Which is
you.
a dumb throwaway line, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, and also too, I guess segueing into the third
Well,
one,
not,
I
not
thought,
yet, not yet,
uh,
not yet.
but
Any
yeah,
final thoughts
over
on Gamera 2?
yeah, overall very good movie, very well put together movie. I like we both said, it's better than the first one. Not saying that the first one's bad, but like overall they're just all really good movies. So
It
recommend it.
yes, usually sequels get worse. This one builds upon the previous movie in every way. It has better characters, I would say. Not that the characters in the first one were bad, but definitely better characters and better monster action.
Oh, speaking of characters, I just wanted a side note.
Of course.
Osaka.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah,
He can't
he
catch a
was
break.
funny. I just love that so Osaka in the first one was a cop working with the main scientist girl. Um, he can't handle the monster, so he quits being a cop. Coming into the second one, he's working as a part-time security guard at a brewery, which is the first place that Legion attacks. And then he literally says the line like, "I can't." He goes like, "I can't catch a break, or these things keep following me." But I thought that guy was pretty funny.
Yeah, he was him and Asagi were like the only people that appeared in all three movies,
Yeah.
and he was great. He was great.
Mhm.
So for the last movie of the trilogy, there's Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris, and I
Mhm.
we both agree that this is the best Gamera movie, and I would say this is one of the best monster movies.
I agree. I'm trying to like I was like when after I finished it and I was watching, I was just trying to think of like other monster movies I'd rival this with or like put it up there, and like this might be like a top five or three for me. Just an overall movie. It's
Yes,
just a very well put together movie, and surprisingly, and the weird note is that, and I also I was looking up like the reception of it, and people agree it's one of the best Gamera movies of all 12 that have been out there. Um, And the surprising thing that what for a top movie is Gamera's barely in this.
yes, he's only in 2 to 3 scenes of the entire movie.
Yeah.
And I guess we would be remiss to mention that the trilogy's been directed by Shisuke Kaneko. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And I don't know if you know Daniel, he's the one that also directed Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. He also did that.
Okay.
And I feel like we did praise him a lot during this review, but he can't get enough praise for this movie because he also co-wrote it. And I think this movie is definitely the best directed out of the trilogy too. Definitely way more uh, great shots and great cinematography. And as we said, it's very odd that a great monster movie doesn't have a lot of Gamera in it. I think he only has about 10 minutes of screen time, and that's mostly towards the end of the movie.
Yeah. But the I will say the few minutes he's in, he absolutely steals the show. He's awesome in it.
Yes.
Um,
You want to talk about his
but
design?
yes. So it's because I remember when I first watched this and they do the flashback. And so but the point I was going to make before is I thought this also kind of rivaled just the intro. It reminded me of King of the Monsters. Like someone gets, a family gets caught behind in it. Um like how King of the Monsters did the flashback to the 2014 Godzilla and you see someone like in the um aftermath or during the monsters battle. But um at first I thought like the girl was just misremembering Gamera because like I don't know if you noticed this, like when she sees Gamera like
Yeah,
come
he looks
through the bill.
different.
Yeah, he looked menacing. Um but and then like they showed him, which is probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire trilogy, when he's hunting the Gyos in the city and he's flying after them, and then he lands and they show his design. He looks menacing, like he looks mean and tough. Like he had spikes going down. I don't know if you caught the little detail, like when
His spikes like perked out before he
yeah,
landed.
like on his shell. his tusk looked a bit bigger. His eyes, kind of had less like
He didn't look as
what's the word?
friendly.
Yes, yes. But I thought, he was a bit darker and stuff. So he looked really awesome in this movie. I thought they did a great job with his design. It was definitely the best one. I I
Yes.
don't need I don't need to see the other Gamma movies. I will say this one's the best one.
Yes. His design is also, it reflects that he lost his touch with humanity. So when
Yes.
he's hunting down the Gaios, he's very reckless.
Yes.
I mean, he does save a boy, kind of, but he only cares about killing the Gaios. And 15 to 20,000 people in the Shibuya district in Japan are murdered from Gamera just trying to kill the two Gaios in collateral damage.
Yeah, and while it's messed up that he completely, and they said those were only estimates. They projected more, but like, I mean, it was just awesome how he was just
He's
like
brutal in this movie.
yeah. And like I was gonna say, like it's cool. Like you see, like the one guy was flying, and then you just see him come flying in, and but almost before you see him flying in, you see the his fireballs hit it out of the sky. It lands, and then like in the debris, like when he lands, you see it's like face is half melted and eye is like hanging out, and he walks up to it so slowly and point blank just blast it in the face like with no mercy. But and
Yes.
then but it was the destruction is almost like what you expect in a monster movie like that. While it's more menacing, it was pretty cool and awesome, like the destruction that he like just laid waste.
I guess we should explain why the Gaios came back. So, after Gamera took a whole intake of mana, which is now what they call it, it's like this collective energy spirit from people. To revive himself, he had to take such a high quantity of it, where it actually lowered the mana level in Japan. And they said the Gaios thrive in that kind of environment with low mana. So now all of a sudden they're showing up everywhere. So now Gamera
Yes.
has to hunt them down and kill them. And
Yeah.
he's like doing that off screen for the most part. They only show him in the beginning, killing those two Gaios, and then there's the him destroying Shibuya, and then the JSDF labels him public enemy number one because he killed roughly 20,000 people.
Yeah. I mean, the entire. I did talk about like the cinematography or like the shots and everything. I thought it was a great shot. Like after he kills the two Gaios, and you see him just walking through the flames of the city, and like with his new look, it just it. I really enjoyed that shot. It
And I
really fit
think
him.
this is also, this movie utilizes its miniatures in such a great way. You honestly forget that sometimes it's a man in a suit with miniatures from how they shoot it. They're using wide angle lenses. You could tell a lot of effort and time was put into it. They said that they spent over a year on this movie trying to make it, which for monster movies is unusual, especially in Japan. They don't really do that. So there's clearly the time and effort they put into this movie to make it feel visceral, make Gamera feel visceral. The destruction. It is such a well directed monster movie. I cannot stress that enough.
Yes, and also the humans in this too. Surprisingly, like even with the kids, didn't feel um like especially when the more they include more kids in it. The tone doesn't it doesn't take away from the tone at all. I was surprised because sometimes with like kids, like especially like with Gamera, like with how his character was set up, it could have easily taken the tone away from it. But the kids, like even having the kids be the main character, it was just as serious. I was shocked, especially with like Iris and the family. I forget the name of the family that was protecting that the tomb, the cave where Iris emerged from.
I guess the only
But
bizarre thing for me with this movie was the product placement of the Dreamcast. It was, I know what they're doing where the guy creates games and it can show
yes,
the
yeah,
mana. I get that, but I was like chuckling to myself thinking like how much did Sega, did they pay for this shot? Like to have the Dreamcast featured? Was it not selling well at that time? in 1999.
Yeah, and what was it? The games that they were designing were like world simulation games,
Yeah, there's like,
something
oh,
like that,
this his
something
game
bizarre.
predicted the stock market or something.
Yeah, it was like, or this game could predict like mana level on Earth. It was like something, it was something bizarre like that.
Now, do you want to explain the general plot, especially with Ayana and Iris?
Yeah, so so the it takes the first part is it takes place in the during the first battle in the first Gamma movie between Gamma and Gaius. You see this family evacuating. The daughter gets put in the van. The dad goes back to get the mother and cat. Gamera, in the middle of the battle, destroys the building, kills her family. So she's now living, I guess, in the countryside of Japan, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So she's there. She has a hatred for Gamera. Everyone else is like he's a hero. Yada yada yada. So she feels alone. She has her little brother who she's protecting. She ends up discovering she kind of gets pushed into these bullies by school into going into this cave that's been guarded off. Um, and while she's in the cave, she activates this like rock, and then the shrine opens up. Um, it's this little creature comes out. She names it Iris after her cat. Ends up raising it. I feel like I'm going way too in detail, um,
It's
but
all right.
but yeah. So the creature she ends up taking care of. It turns out to be some ancient like evil guardian that is like the opposite of Gamera. Gamera's hunting down all the Gaios. They're out now. The army is trying wants to get rid of Gamera. Iris ends up growing big, trying to like basically just laying waste everything. Gamera has to show up to stop him. Um, I guess that I don't
That's a
want to like go
general.
too.
It's a general
Yeah,
plot.
yeah,
It's just a important detail is that like Ayana, who's the girl who lost her cat and her family, which she thinks is to Gamera, her and Iris are like feeding off of each other. They're both feeding off of the same hate. I
yes,
mean, because Ayana really, really, really hates Gamera, and
yeah,
understandably so. She thinks he killed her. He killed her parents, and yeah, and boy is Iris in a way kind of terrifying, where it could just like suck the life out of things with
yeah.
its
That was
tentacles.
Yeah, that was dark. Like, like when they come back and like Iris, because the girl was gone too long, Iris murdered her entire adoptive family, and like they didn't show him murdering them like until later, but the people come back to the village and they're just like bodies laying out. Like the one body comes out of the ceiling and it's just like bone, like skin tight to the bones. They got drained. Like,
Yeah, this movie's pretty dark,
yeah,
but not like a
and
dark, depressing nightmare. It's just more serious.
yeah. That like I already told you that one scene like where Iris like merged with her. I thought was just it was weird. It was bizarre, but um, yeah. The one thing I chuckled at was like the ancient family or the kid who is now the protector. This like
Oh yeah, that one. I think I know
13-year
what
old
line you're
kid.
talking about. He,
But no, I was gonna say the 10-inch dagger. It was like this like it looked like a wooden prop in a high school play. Like that thing was supposed to stop Iris.
maybe to his
Uh,
defense, he wasn't expecting Iris to get that big.
I just thought it was funny. Like a 10-inch just looks like it just looked like a high school prop.
I
But
guess we should talk about the scene where Gamera is in the sky and fights Iris.
yes,
It
that
is
yeah,
such a well done, intense, and cool scene. Even though Gamera's been labeled like an enemy in the movie, he is portrayed as like a hero in this scene where this like heroic music is playing as he goes after Iris and is trying to kill Iris in the
yeah.
sky.
I don't know if you caught this detail. I like that they added this to him. They changed it. Like when he was flying, he kept like the turtle fins.
Yeah,
Like when the
they
turtle's
did
like
that in the second
swimming.
one, I think. I think
Yeah,
that was
like when
also.
like when the turtles are swimming, they have their fins out. Like so, he only had the jet propulsion coming out of his legs, but he has arms like that. Like he was almost like a turtle would when they're swimming in the water. I thought that was cool. Like it was just a nice little detail
I
in
think
this
the
little
coolest
change.
part is when it's the shot where he's like biting Iris, and then all of a sudden he goes into his shell and then starts spinning rapidly at Iris.
Yes. Yeah.
That was so
I
cool.
also I also like that they had the human jets, trying to track them too as they're going through like the night sky. They had like the moon shining on them, and I thought the way they did the cutting, like they would cut to
Oh,
they cut to their faces. What?
I said, oh,
Yeah.
that kind of
Uh,
cutting.
anyway, but um, like how the camera would cut, like it would cut to their faces. It did it in such a way like it made the action very intense. Um, like how quickly him and Iris were moving. I also did like Iris's design, like how he was like neon lit up in the sky, so you could see him. Like his colors were cool, but yeah, I thought that was very well done. Especially with like how the CGI, but like I guess nighttime, makes it's easier to do it. Um,
Yes, the CGI and effects in this movie are at their best. And what's strange is that this movie had a lower budget than Godzilla 2000, and this movie is infinitely better in every way.
especially when you compare the CGI to Orga, when
Yes.
Orga's in his
Or that one shot where Godzilla's like swimming under the water and he's full CGI.
yeah.
I think what's also cool is the contrast that between Iris and Gamera, where they Iris definitely looks more friendlier than Gamera, but it's like the roles are swapped. Where Iris is
Yeah,
really the horrifying and evil one, while Gamera's just trying to protect the universe.
yeah, because even Iris's like roar was not a menacing at all. It gave off the impression like he was this like innocent creature. Like because he kind of kept the same roar like when he was like he first hatched. Like it was like that innocent little cute creature, and then he kind of it matured, but it wasn't menacing in any way, like you were saying.
And I think we
But
should talk about the ending because I think the ending is brilliant. Where
yes,
Gamera and Iris are fighting. Uh, the Iris merges with Ayana, which is what Iris wants. And when Ayana, who's the girl who wants revenge on Gamera, when she's inside Iris, she's starting to see like how much her hate has progressed and pretty much turned Iris. She pretty much unleashed this monster, right? That's what Iris is, and she sees that Iris is killing her family, and then she's really starting to regret it. And then Gamera rips her out of Iris's stomach, but then
yeah,
Iris like hits Gamera's hand
impaled,
and has it
yeah,
pinned. And then, which is so cool, like Iris is starting to siphon Gamera's energy and is about to shoot his plasma fireballs. Gamera blows off his hand, absorbs the energy that Iris is shooting at him, and forms a fist. He rips on
yeah,
Ayana, and then he punches Iris in the chest and blows it up and kills it. Just
yeah.
such cool things that they make Gamera do. I mean, I wasn't expecting that at all. Like him to blow off his own hand and then kill Iris.
I was gonna say that's probably one of like my favorite like finishing like moves by in a monster movie. Like that final fight and everything. I loved it how, but he also kept the girl in his other hand. Like he protected her the whole time, which was such a cool little detail. But yeah, I love that he just absorbed it and formed a fist and just punt. Yeah, because it was cool because it's like she's trapped and I think she's like help me, and then you just see Gamera step. It was a cool shot. You see him step and just punch right into him. But and then also too like when the girl another little cool detail, like they were trying to like resuscitate the girl after he Gamera puts her down. And then it was really Gamera's like roar that woke her up. And then like while she's like, she's like, "Why did you save me?" and whatever. And Gamera's still there, and he's looking at them, like he's understanding them. And then he leaves, because the Gaios are coming. But like
Yes.
again, like he looks at them and he's like talking, like they're talking to him, like he almost understands. And it's like she understand, she finally is like, "I understand you now," But I was gonna say, because that scene also before she gets absorbed into Iris, the dagger finally came through.
Oh yeah,
Because remember, the kid was like,
he
"Dagger, do
throws it.
something." It bounces off of Iris, but then it cut the girl, and that was like what brought her back to reality. So that at least paid off. I was like, are they not going to do anything with this dagger?
So towards the end of the movie, the JSDF they get a notification that there's a swarm of Gaios coming. This is while Gamera's fighting Legion, and I think what makes the ending so great is it literally just shows like a swarm of Gaios coming, and then Gamera, who's missing an arm, who's all beaten up, pretty much stands his ground and he roars, and then the movie cuts to black. It doesn't show Gamera fight the Gaios, but like in a meta sense, it's kind of testing your belief and faith in Gamera, because that's what these movies have always like played around with the idea of having faith, whatever it be in a person or even a giant turtle monster. And I think like that kind of restraint is really great because you could if a modern director did this right, they would show like the Gaios attacking Gamera and then he would prevail, but it kind of like tests your faith in Gamera. Will he win? Will he not? It kind of matters on if you have faith in Gamera to prevail because he's not gonna back down. He will fight to the end, which I think was so cool.
Yeah, I did like that, and especially too because it was like a long shot, and it was like him like in the ruins of the city. He's missing the hand, and he just looks up like he's ready to go. Yeah, I really did enjoy the ending, especially like you're saying, you're used to, especially in a monster movie, you're kind of used to that definitive ending. So it's a nice it's a nice touch and nuance to his character that they're able to. But again, props to them that they're able to develop his character as a monster to the point where that they can end it like that.
Yes. I thought it's just such a great way to end it. And then it literally ends with like saying like Gamera 1999, the absolute guardian of the universe. The
Yes.
movie ends. So overall, uh Gamera 3, I would say, and you would probably agree too, one of the best monster
Yes.
movies ever.
Yes.
I think that is high praise, but it deserves its praise. It is such a well crafted, technically well made movie. I highly recommend it. And I highly recommend the Gamera trilogy from the 90s.
Yes.
But we have one more movie to talk about
Oh
because
boy.
the Heisei era of Gamera isn't like the Godzilla Heisei era where it was only from the 80s and 90s. The Heisei era of Gamera's four movies because you probably know, Daniel, the Heisei era in Japan was a political period. It ran for 30 years. It was like 1989 to 2019. So it includes Gamera the Brave, which is another reboot to the franchise. And I thought this movie was okay.
Yes. I think you have to understand the tone, what kind of movie it is. And once you understand that, like what it's aimed at and what's aimed for, it's enjoyable for what it is. Like you're saying, I agree with you. It's an okay movie.
It's the
Um,
weakest of the Heisei era, but that's
yes.
not necessarily like a terrible thing to say because the trilogy is held in such a high regard. I think what makes this movie work is the dynamic with Toto, which is the little turtle, which turns out to be Gamera, and the kid Toru. I think that works really well. And I think
Yes.
what also makes it work really well is how innocent the movie is to a degree.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know why that one scene where those kids started taking their pants off, like they're trying to rip the pants off of one child.
Yeah,
That
that.
was completely out of left field, and that was the scene I told you about. I was like, I don't know
I,
about
I
this.
was gonna ask you. I was like, "Is that the scene that you were talking about?" It was like, and then like, and then it got even darker or like weirder because like the one kid goes, "Oh, your mom gonna take them off?" And like he says it to the kid who lost his mom in a car accident. I was like, "Oh my god!" It's like, "Where's this scene going?" But yeah, disregarding that scene, this is definitely much more of a kids movie, um, especially with the ending, and we'll get to that. But it's very lighthearted. But the reason that's why I give it a pass because it is more of a kids movie, so you have to understand that like who it's aimed for. But it has like you're saying with the connection between Toru and Toto. There's a lot of heart behind it, especially like in the beginning when he Gamera Toto hatches and he's raising him and everything, and this is the kid's first summer without his mom, so he's there's a very much a lot of emotion in it and heart behind it that it's not it's a nice touch, but the overall tone it's very much a kids movie. So,
Yes.
but mhm.
Um, what was I gonna say? I wouldn't say that the movie is feel good, but it's definitely like I don't want to use the word innocent because I already used that, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's
Yeah,
like
there's heart behind it.
yeah,
There's
it's not some like hack work where it actually feels endearing to a certain degree. And I think, ironically enough, the movie's at its best when it's with the characters instead of the monsters.
yeah. Well, Gamera. Well, him and Gamera, like when he becomes Gamera, he's barely in it. It's really more of him as Toto, like before he becomes Gamera.
Yeah, and I like I said, I like that dynamic with him and the turtle. You could really feel the connection and the affinity the Toro has for Toto, and it just, he's a kid. It feels so innocent and it feels so
Yeah,
well and like good intentioned. That
especially the
yeah,
one scene like where he May told him to like get rid of the turtle because his dad runs a restaurant, so he can't allow him to have a pet. And then he tries to leave him on the beach, and then you see Toto like climbing, following him, and he even goes in the street and almost gets run over by a car, and then Toro saves him. Like they really, he really bonds with him and everything. And or when he thought he lost him, and he's like heartbroken, and him and his friends are looking everywhere in the rain for him. Um, so and like that so like the first half of the movie I really enjoyed. I mean, minus that scene on the beach. I don't know if that was some Hollywood's like power fantasy, but um the but up until like he kind of Zedus or
his
what
'80s.
is Zades until he shows up, that's kind of when the movie dipped for me.
Yes, I agree 100%. And the weirdest thing is we don't know anything about this monster other than
Yes.
that it eats people.
I was gonna say like they didn't even give some throwaway exposition to this character. It's just the monster shows up and that's it. And
Yep.
they name
Yeah.
it and they give him this random name. There's no reason behind it. At least Gamera they established that there was a previous Gamera.
And he
He
sacrificed
sacrificed
himself.
himself
I thought that
in a
was a cool
village.
scene too in the
Yeah,
beginning.
and like and it builds the connection that the dad was the kid that saw it, and now his son is raising the next Gamera. So they did a nice job connecting the characters and everything. But once it like became more about the monsters and like he shows up and then Gamera say it kind of gets it gets messy and like I don't know the tone, like how they change it. It was almost like they didn't know what to do with the monsters and like the rest of the story. Like once he grew up, it was like they kind of ran out,
I would
and it's
say
just like
that definitely, like the monster fighting itself isn't bad. It's
no,
just Zades himself kind of bogs everything down a little bit because, like we said,
yes,
we don't know anything about this thing. It just shows up from the water and it starts eating people, and it eats like a bunch of people in front of one of Toro's friends.
I thought at first he ate the little brother. I was like, oh my god,
I
because
I
that
would I
because
would have given the movie credit if they actually did that.
because he's eating these people, and then you're like, oh my god, and then you see the little kid like was protected under the concrete. I was like, all right, but yeah, and then like, and then they introduced those like weird government scientist characters that were like testing on him. They somehow were collecting the pearls and like perfecting it into some serum that they could then inject into Gamera, and then Gamera he grows from it. He goes to fight. He's overmatched completely. And then it was like that weird scene, like where all the kids. This is like
Hold
where it
on.
really is a kids movie.
I must stop you. You forgot the subplot where Toro's
Where
friend
May,
is having heart surgery.
May is having heart surgery right where the monsters are going into battle.
Totally out of left field, and it's like because the movie is so like well intentioned, and I like some of it. Some of that other stuff, like the side plot with that, and even like the kids at the end, as you're about to say, where they all get together and they pass off the thing Toto
Yeah,
was reincarnated in. And it's like,
yeah,
well, how did everybody know to do that but Toro?
yeah. Or May. At least May was connected to him, so she understood. But like all these random kids are now running through these crowds and like passing it off for Toto, and they're like just passing it off. And then like his friends who got lost in the city just happen to run into them and stuff. Like, I again, I'll give it a pass because it's a kids movie, but it took me out of it. I was like, all right. Like it almost like forgot Gamera was in the movie, but yeah, that's where like where it dipped for me, like because the first half was so like you're saying well-meaning. There's connection, everything, and then it's just like kind of got a little kiddie and schlocky with that. Like they're doing like an Olympic baton, passing it all through the city as people are running for their life.
But again,
It was
also, it's like that one scene where Toro is like begging Toto not to die, like, do not self destruct, please. He's pretty much begging Gamera, like, just please don't die, because, this kid's already been through a lot, losing his mother, and he doesn't want to
yeah,
go through that again. That stuff is great. Like I said, the dynamic with Toro and Toto is well done. It's just some of Zadie's, yeah, uh, and he has a cool design. You
yeah,
just don't know what it is and why he's doing his evil stuff.
yeah, yeah. Because he even had like the Frilla monster design. Like the thing came out, his like neck came out. He had like that tongue, like the long tongue. Um, which I kind of I thought it was a neat shot of him and Toto on the bridge, and like he's trying to climb up the thing to get him. I thought that was creative in the execution, but yeah, and then like at the end after Toto just completely obliterates Zades and like he passes out from exhaustion. Those scientist guys show up like capture him again, get him, like, and then the kids all band together and like block them off. And I don't know if this scene came to mind for you, but it did for
Is
me.
it
Was
Godzilla Photo
Godzilla?
Wars?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
I knew it.
The kid stands in between.
Where
Obviously, there's not
Manila,
Minya.
yeah,
Yeah,
he T poses.
yeah, in front of Godzilla, who's about to lay waste to them.
Real quick, the funniest part of that scene is Don Fry pulls his sword out like he's gonna do something.
uh, yeah, what was it? Or what caught me off guard was when the dad
Oh,
catches up to
smacks the
Toro.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, he just before hugging him or saying, "Hey, I'm going," to just slaps him.
I think one part that I wish they did differently was when Toto flies when after he eats that thing that he was born in and he's falling out of the building and it's just like that fake out. Oh, you think he crashed, but then he's actually flying. I think what would have made that scene work so much better is if they didn't show baby Toto flying earlier. Remember,
Yes.
he's like hovering around as a little turtle.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. You could refine because then it takes away this moment where they're trying to be like, oh, it's such a awe-inspiring moment. He's flying. He can actually fly. He really is Gamera because like the dad was saying the whole time, this isn't Gamera. He's not Gamera. He saw Gamera die.
Yeah.
You know,
Also, too, that he didn't show off his like fire breath too.
he yeah. I mean, he did you catch that one reference when he's a baby Toto and he's in the kitchen, and that knife falls in front of him. It looks like the Barugan, like the knife
Yeah.
is shaped like that, and then Toto like destroys the knife.
And the dad like slipped on him too. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Overall, I mean, like, I don't know. There isn't like much more for me to like, I guess, say about it because like, it's enjoyable when you look at it. You know, it's a kids movie. Keep that in mind. But I guess Gamera too. No, actually, I'll talk about his design. He definitely. I didn't. I didn't hate his design. I didn't like that design following the trilogy, especially the last one. You know,
I
he
you know
goes from this.
I think you have to take into account that this movie was kind of considered a return to form for Gamera, which was
Yeah,
more child friendly. So I didn't mind Gamera's new design, and I didn't even really mind that they called him Toto the whole movie. That's fine.
yeah.
So that bothered some people apparently.
Well, I mean, but in context, the story of the Toto was because that was the
His
kid's
mom, yeah,
nickname. Yeah, his
his
mom
mom called
called him
him that.
Toto, so I get that. You know, it's a nice little, but I mean, they definitely, they made him more child friendly. You know, he was much, especially like when he was a little turtle, and they would sometimes do the CGI, like his animation, like his eyes would like with when he was like hovering outside the window when the dad almost like threw him out and he's hovering, and then
Yeah.
the girl sees him and she screams, and then Toto screams and he flies back like. So I know I completely understood what they're going for. I just absolutely loved the third one's design, and his design in the first two, but I understand what they were going for, so I'm not gonna like rip on it or say it sucked. It's just I
Yes. This
I
isn't.
prefer the other ones.
Yes, this
Yeah,
isn't a bad movie in any sense. It's a little messy, but I will say that I had a smile throughout my on my face the whole time. I really enjoyed it. Not as much as the trilogy, but I think as its own thing, as its own Gamera movie, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's
yeah,
probably the fourth best Gamera movie, which sounds like a backhanded compliment, but it's really not. I
yeah.
think it's a nice, solid entry into the Gamera movie, and as of now, it's the latest Gamera movie, and this is from 2006.
Wow.
Uh, I'd be curious to see a new Gamera movie. I don't think
That,
America is ready for like to be Americanized like how Godzilla is in the American Godzilla movies. I'd like to see a Japanese brand new Gamera movie because I could say
yes.
now after seeing these movies, I am a Gamera fan. I'm a big Gamera fan now,
Yeah, I agree. These movies won me over.
and I do wish I did see these more as a kid,
Yeah.
not as an adult, but
Because I definitely would have enjoyed Gamera the Brave as a kid. If I saw that as a kid, like how I watched the Godzilla movies as a kid, I definitely would have had. Um, uh, no, not that I didn't enjoy this, but I definitely would have much more love for that movie, especially as a kid when it's geared towards you. So, but no, I'm definitely a big Gamera fan. Like I'd be excited. Like if they announced a Gamera movie, I'd be excited for it.
yes, I'd be more excited about a Gamera movie being announced than a new Kong movie directed by Adam Wingard. That's where I'm at with Godzilla right now. Anything, I'll watch any Godzilla movie, any new one, but if I see that guy's name, that Billy Goated Chinned weirdo, I am not gonna watch. But I'll happily welcome a new Gamera movie, which I don't
Yeah,
think there's any plans for that right now, which
yeah.
is a
And
shame. But I'd be curious to see a new one.
I was also gonna say for our subscribers for point of reference with Gamera and Godzilla movies, what Godzilla's had 36
It's
movies. Gamera's
36. Gamera has 12.
so Godzilla's like had three times more than movies. So the fact that at least four of at least a third of their movies have hit home, or they've at least been really good, should say
And the thing
something.
with Gamera too is that he has a four good movie streak.
Yes.
And Godzilla right now has the anime trilogy, which is kind of bad, and Godzilla vs Kong, which I do not like one bit. So I guess as of now, I think Godzilla will always be number one in my heart. But as of now, I like Gamera. Uh, Not a little bit more, but I really like Gamera now, only because they haven't screwed it up yet since Gamera the Brave.
They're on an almost 2 decade streak of not screwing it up.
I mean that it's. I would watch Gamera the Brave any day over Godzilla vs Kong.
I agree. Would you watch it over 2014 Boring Soldier Man?
Uh, Maybe I don't know.
They're different.
Yeah, they're totally different. One is like a realistic nightmare, and the other one is a kids movie.
Yeah.
But yes, to summarize, I would be very interested, and I would actually look forward to if a new Gamera movie was announced. Because we are
Especially
both converted Gamera fans now.
yes. Especially considering also too, not just his movies are good, but I like the monsters that he fought too. So
Yeah, they're very creative.
yeah, like guys at first, like when I first got it, I was like, oh, is this a knockoff or a damn? But they're different enough, unique. So I enjoyed it. And then Iris was very unique,
And
and
Legion too.
yeah, Legion. Which I wonder if they got a if that Gamera movie had inspired Mega Gyrus a little.
I mean, maybe.
I because I know that one came out what, like 5 years or like almost. What
Yeah,
year was
it's like it's
Mega Gyrus was like
2000.
what?
2000.
Yeah, so I
4 years.
want I wonder if they got a little inspiration from Legion with Mega Gyrus, because that was hive mentality. There was a queen, a mega one and stuff. So,
I mean, but in that movie, they were trying to shoot a black hole at Godzilla.
yep. Can't nuke them, black hole them.
And I think we can end it with this by saying I think the Gamera trilogy, and maybe I said this earlier, I really don't remember, better than almost all the Godzilla movies, especially Gamera 3, is better than almost all the Godzilla movies.
I was gonna actually ask you,
Yes.
which Godzilla movies would you take over, or put up, or at least put up on the same level as the Gamera trilogy?
Uh, Definitely like the first one. Some of the Heisei Godzilla movies, because like,
I was gonna say Godzilla vs Mecha Godzilla 2.
yes, that one.
That's an all time favorite.
But I think this is how I look at it. Gamera has 12 movies, right? Eight of them
Yes.
are terrible. So when Gamera is really good, he's hard to beat, right? But when
Yeah.
he's bad, anything can beat him. And Godzilla has more of a range of quality.
Yes.
There's some really bad, like Godzilla's Revenge,
Or Son of
some
Godzilla.
or Son of Godzilla. Some okay ones like Monster Zero, uh, King Kong vs Godzilla, and then you have good ones and so on. There's a range of quality
Yes.
for Godzilla, and that's probably the most appealing thing for Godzilla and the best thing. But Gamera only has four good movies, and everything else is
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. That's. So you have to put four Gamera movies up against 36 Godzilla movies and compare.
Yeah, well,
That's a
which
tough
isn't fair
sample
for
size.
Gamera, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. I'd match these up. These I'd at least say the trilogy.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
don't
if I.
want playing Gamera the Brave.
Yeah, because it's its own, which it benefits from. It would definitely be a much weaker movie if it got lumped in with that trilogy. Um, so, but I'd put that trilogy up against most and see
Yes,
where.
and I would recommend watching Gamera 3.
Yes,
then you'd probably have to watch the other two. So I recommend watching the trilogy, so you can have the full arc and
Yeah.
full understanding.
Gamera the Brave. If you
I
fall in
would,
love
I
with
would, I
Gamera,
would say watch Gamera the
yeah,
Brave.
yeah, it's a different take, but if you enjoy Gamera, for the most part, you enjoy that
It's
movie.
endearing, and none of the characters are annoying, which at the end of the day is a huge positive.
Maybe just skip that beach scene.
Yeah, I don't remember doing that as a kid. I don't know what those kids were
Yeah,
doing.
and then end it with making a reference to the kid's dead mom.
Yeah.
I don't know what that director was thinking, but anyway.
Well, I think that's it for our Gamera discussion. I can't imagine we'll be talking about Gamera again, so it's been fun.
Maybe in 10 years.
Maybe in 10 years when there's a new Gamera movie.
Yes.
Hopefully, hopefully in the next couple of years. But this has been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is
Without
biased except ours, without that
without
other
Craig.
guy. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Colin,
I'm Daniel.
and yeah, yeah.